I'm Tim Vaughan. I'm Poppulo's Editorial Director, and it's terrific to have you here for a topic that I'm sure is top of all our minds at the moment. Before I introduce our host today, the wonderful Megan Thomas, just a few words for any of you who might be new to Poppulo. And don't worry, this is not a sales pitch. It's just a bit of background, and I'll let the facts speak for themselves. Poppulo has been in the employee comms business for many, many years now. And to be honest, after 9 years with the company, I'm still blown away by when I look at our customer base. It's really an A-list roll call of some of the best known brands and the most successful companies in the world. You could almost say it's like the Hollywood Walk of Fame with all those stars. And every day, Poppulo enables our customers to connect with over 50 million employees around the world. Yes, over 50 million every day, which is more than the population of Argentina or Spain or Megan's native Australia. And not only that, a Forrester study combining the results of 4 organizations that use Poppulo earlier this year. This research showed that email open rates doubled. Teams saved thousands of hours worth nearly $3 million. Engagement scores rose by 13 points. And ROI, that word beloved of CEOs and executives everywhere, and that all of you employee communicators will be familiar with being asked, that ROI delivered was 375% over 3 years ROI, with a payback for the investment in Poppulo of under 6 months. And that's not me saying it, it's not Poppulo saying it, it's Forrester research. But enough of stats, no matter how impressive they are. We're here to talk about AI. And Poppulo is very proud and excited to be leading the way in employee comms with AI. Earlier this year, we rolled out the first agentic AI in any employee communications company. And just a couple of weeks ago, we became the first company in employee comms to achieve the new global benchmark for responsible AI. That's the ISO certification, the first in the world. And the reason I'm mentioning that is both of these achievements illustrate 2 things: how we are acutely aware of the transformative effects that that AI is going to have on all of us, every in employee comms, and also it illustrates our commitment to leading the way, and it's why we're hosting this webinar today. I won't call Megan an AI expert because she hates that word, even if it's true. What I will say is that, as well as a long career in employee comms, she has been working with AI long before ChatGPT burst on the scene. She's a leader in strategic communication and change management with over 20 years experience with global organizations. And most recently, she's branched out with her own business, Buzz Communications. She's worked across nearly every industry and helped leaders, including many in the C-suite, manage risk and build trust with their employees and stakeholders. And more unusually for a comms professional, she has a DCAM accreditation in data management. Her last internal role was with a major Australian bank, CBA, where she headed up change comms for the data analytics and AI team, one of the biggest such teams in the world. And she helped them with their first AI policy in 2022-2023. At the end of Megan's presentation, she will answer any questions that you have. So please pop them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, not the chat section, the Q&A, and she'd be delighted to answer you. So I look forward to a very interesting presentation. So now it's over to you, Megan.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tim. And hello, everyone. I wish I could see all your faces because I know we've got people around the world and I'm sitting here in Sydney. It's just past 1 a.m. in the morning. So forgive me if I'm a little bit delirious. But before we start, I'd actually like to first pay my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the land I'm speaking to you from here, where I'm sitting in Sydney. And it's one of the things we do here in Australia to acknowledge our Indigenous cultural heritage before we start an event. So to AI, I know that some comms people are beginning to get excited about AI and how it can help them. But many are also very nervous that it might harm their careers and employment prospects. And it can certainly feel very overwhelming. I know I can feel overwhelmed by it at all times. There's just so much of it. Our feeds are just full of it. It's all over LinkedIn. We've been talking about it for a long time ad nauseum, it feels. Yet here we are still coming together with lots of people still interested and very keen to discuss its implication for our role in professional communications, but also industry-wide and role-wide. We're not home alone here in any way. So I wanted to talk to you today just about some of the ways that our role is being impacted. I'm going to start with some really big picture stuff, but I also want to get practical and help you with some tips to move forward as well, with some skills that I think that are needed in the communications profession, so that you can all build fulfilling long careers in communications or wherever this crazy thing is going to take us. And I don't know that any of us really know the answer to that at the moment. But I would like to introduce my co-host to you now to introduce himself.
Hello there, communicators. I'm your friendly tin robot co-host. Proof that even vintage tech can learn a few new tricks. If you've been feeling a little nervous about AI, you're not alone, but you don't need to be a coder or a tech guru to start. Artificial intelligence isn't here to replace your creativity. It's here to amplify it. So my advice? Be curious, experiment, ask what if? Because the future of communication is powered by human insight and smart tools.
So thank you, Tin Robot. We might hear from you a little bit later on. You will see that I've had a bit of fun playing with tin robots in AI image generators lately. I built that little avatar in HeyGen with VO3, and it was pretty surprisingly easy to do. And I'm sure most of you will easily be able to do something like that too. It's just incredible, some of the things that AI is capable of right now. But I'm keen to hear what's on your minds as well, and just get a sense of, are people excited? Are they nervous? And however you're feeling is absolutely okay. It's fine to be a bit nervous. I think we all are. But it'd be great to hear, what's one word, just pop it in the chat, that you're feeling right now that would sum up how you're feeling about AI. I'll give you a few little moments to do that. And I'm wondering if I look at the chat, can I see that? Oh, I can see all those responses coming through. It's a mixed bag: overwhelmed, excited, enthusiastic, very excited. Love it. Overwhelmed, curious, wary. Yeah. There's a whole, making people lazy. Interesting. Yep. Apprehensive, wary. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think it does bring up a whole range of emotions and actually probably resentful. That's an interesting one. Cautiously optimistic. I think it's both. It's all of those things. We can feel all of those things at the same time. Some days I find myself feeling quite trepidatious and, oh my goodness, this really is bringing a lot of change, and I'm feeling a little bit, wow, how are we possibly going to keep on top of it all? And then other times I feel incredibly optimistic and curious and excited and positive. And I think it is both of those things. Efficient and creative words also coming up. You can probably see that little chat box on my screen too. So I'll just close out of that. Just close out of that now. On to the next slide. I wanted to also introduce you to your new team members. We've been hearing a lot about agentic AI recently, and it's really incredible that, you know, a couple of years ago, we'd only just heard about ChatGPT, and some of the things it could do seemed pretty amazing. And now we're talking about super agents, and everybody's going to have a team of AI work partners that they're working with every day as part of their jobs very, very soon. And if you haven't heard of agents or super agents or not sure what they are, so the simple definition is that they're able to complete tasks without human intervention, that they can do multiple things and work across different systems. And I think the idea of having a competent AI assistant just seemed like it was in the realms of fantasy not too long ago. But agents are now, I think, really going to transform the employee experience. You know, much more than just a chatbot and being able to surface answers from across an internet or an intranet. You can, you know, create a coach on how to align your messaging with your brand or your culture if you wanted. You could set up a project manager. You could have your own admin assistant. The sort of range of things that agents can do is sort of limitless, and it'll be a bit like newsletters. I think everybody's going to want their own newsletter, and we're going to have to be playing a role in sort of corralling and managing and not overwhelming our organizations with agents that are popping up. I do hear some organizations having sort of governance forums around who's developing agents and on what and for whom, which I think is a very good idea. And who are plugged into your organization's data, they can provide incredibly rich insights into your risk culture or sentiment or safety, or much more sort of quickly, efficiently, and in targeted ways than we've ever had before. And they can even buy things for you, although there's going to be controls built into that as well. So agents are pretty exciting sort of development. Some of the tech companies are starting to use them already. And I think, you know, they still feel a bit like a distracted sort of teenager who's might show up or might not show up, and probably only gives you the information most times. But I think based on what we're seeing, they're going to be rapidly improving and getting very, very good. This quote I've been using for a while, and when I first started sharing it a couple of years ago, you know, it was astounding to think that 90% of online content may be synthetically generated by the year 2026. But that is, I think, well, we've hit a milestone which was announced just last week, and it, you know, it's looking pretty realistic actually. The milestone some of you might have heard was 50% of online content is now online generated, and it was just over that for news content. It's 52%, I think. But that doesn't mean it's content without human oversight, but it is, you know, a strong indication that AI is saturating our online worlds. I think, you know, there's been a bit of reaction to this as well, with things starting to feel sort of quite synthetically generated, and people are turning away from social feeds a bit. Mind you, I think teenage boys seem to be flooding to it in new ways with the release of the likes of Sora 2. So, you know, it's really hard to keep up with all of this, and I don't know that anyone is. Is anyone keeping up? I think the answer to that is clearly no. I feel like I've got whiplash half the time. This is another one of my little robot creations. And I wondered, just putting a sort of question out there to you as well, you can just put your thoughts in the chat, is how much are you trusting AI right now? Like, not at all? Or do you trust it with the basics? Or, you know, are you happier to trust it in a much more sort of liberal way? I know that some people are starting to use it as a you know, sort of confident, and the whole role that AIs are playing with in therapy and as companions is exploding in a way that we may not have expected. So yeah, how much do you trust it right now? About as much as a good intern. Yeah, with caution. Not much. Yeah. A little bit. Too much. Wow. Yeah. Again, it's a whole work with an office. Yeah. It depends on the topic. But yes, I think it can really depend on context and what you're using it for. And some things it is getting very good and accurate at, others not so much. I said start things. Yeah, I agree though that I don't think you can trust it 100% with anything, and I don't think we ever should. That's where the human oversight role definitely comes in, and it doesn't mean that accountability for decision making is not with a human. I think that's all with a human, but certainly its accuracy is improving too. I think that plexi, yeah. I think that word, how much do we trust AI, it's an interesting concept to think about, because people are also sharing lots with it, and younger generations too seem to be sharing their data a lot more freely. And I think data will become, and data privacy and surveillance and will become a much bigger issue as we are aware just how much online and technology companies know about us. Trust and verify, that's a good one. Always trust and verify. So yeah, I think even our little robot friends are feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the speed that everything is going and whether they can keep up or not. So with Hey Jen, you can do little animations like that too, to show even the robots are feeling a little bit crazy right now. So you might be aware, I wonder if you've seen any of the Sora 2 excitement that's happened. It's only available in the US at this point, but it's given an incredibly kind of rich ability to create video content from text. But also there's a lot of content slop, and there's new genres of sort of imagery that's being created as well. And you might not be aware of, but certainly lots of people are being sucked into, like I did for a bit, a content genre called Italian brain rot. And there's a few sort of screenshots of it here. It's the most bizarre thing. You can see little images of sharks in sneakers, or desserts, or a whole range of characters that speak in this kind of bizarre version of Italian, and they're sort of very mesmerizing, and they've just gone off online. But again, I think we've got this incredibly powerful tool that can do so many things and solve big societal problems, but then one of the things we're releasing into the general public is something that creates these character memes. It's just crazy, and of course consumes huge amounts of resources. I'm sure you've seen your versions of content slop. This one, the Italian brain rot, was pre-Sora 2 release. Sora 2 release saw this explosion of kind of dead celebrities because they don't have copyright associated with them. And there's cat crime videos. Like I'll play you this one.
Good afternoon. You know why I'm pulling you over? You were catcalling out the window back there. Do not talk to me that way. Dispatch, this is 427. Bring the K9 unit to my stop. Copy, K9 around. Sit tight.
So there's a whole bunch of things that's it is just being created.
You know why I'm pulling you over?
That I really question and think, is this what we're developing AI for? It's not what the tech sort of leaders would lead us to believe they're developing it for, yet these things seem to be prioritized in rollout. But, it's not all bad, because I think there's some fantastic opportunities for creatives in this as well. You might have seen this is the first completely AI generated text to video, sort of a higher end saw a 2 video. It's called Frostbite. I encourage you to take a look at the whole thing. It's only a few minutes, and I'm not going to play that all now, but I thought I'd show you a little snippet in case you hadn't seen it. It's the creator, Dave Clark, is already an award-winning filmmaker. So it just goes to show when you have the expertise and these tools in your hands, what you can actually do with them.
My husband Tony is still out there, never charges his phone. Lord help him. He's fine. You know.
Lost the game to the devil himself, and he's come to collapse.
So yeah, you can see what an incredible sort of storytelling tool it can be. It's just mind-blowing that that's created from text, and the prompts are much smaller, and the sound quality is getting a lot better too. Speaking of sound, Apple AirPods, the latest ones, have just released this feature, and I can't decide whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, but it's got real-time language translation. So you can hear a conversation that's translated from your native language through the earpods into the other person's language, and then translations delivered back through your AirPods to them. And I just find that is incredible. And the advancements are both, you know, like, will it stop us wanting to learn a language? I don't know. Every day there's something coming out. And I was going to have a little section on, can you spot the fake? And there are tells with AI. And I used to think there was stylistically some differences, and I was reasonably good at telling what was AI and what was real. There's a whole thing about M dashes recently, and you know, the poor old M dash, a lot of writers saying, oh, I've been using M dashes for years. But in actual fact, it's getting so good. It's very, very hard for anybody to tell the difference anymore. And that, of course, that's quite concerning with deepfakes, etc. I won't play this one now because I want to get to some other content as well, but I encourage you to go have a look at this. You might have heard about it. It's 2 people in a shop, and they have lost the ability to sort of communicate with each other. They ask ChatGPT, or I'm in a shop and the person is looking at me. What should I do? Typed into ChatGPT, and oh, you need to say hello and ask the person who they are. And then the response is, this person is in my shop and has asked me who I am. How do I respond? And it's just a very funny take on the potential, I think, that lots of people are worried about, that the human element and our ability to interact socially could be taken away. And, you know, like it or low that AI is here. And this is the thing I think that we can be leading as communicators, is making sure that that human connection it continues. We're at a real inflection point, I think, for our roles in comms. And this is the type of thing we can do to step up and make sure that we are using this technology in responsible ways and keeping the human element at the forefront of our mind. I just thought this was an interesting, it's the front page brand positioning on Notebook LM, which is by Perplexity, an incredible AI tool. If you haven't had a play with it, great at research. It's like building your own sort of large language systems or small language systems. Understand anything is the positioning. And so we're talking about AI now like being thinking partners as opposed to being answering questions or generating text. So it is reasoning, it does understand context, it does have some levels of emotional intelligence at this point in research, sometimes more than what humans have in studies, interestingly. But that positioning I thought was fascinating. So the outlook in terms of jobs and skills is that, and this is according to the World Economic Forum, there actually will be job growth expected over the next few years. But that doesn't mean that some jobs aren't being lost, that it's being offset by the growth. And there's a sort of a seismic skills shortage and change that we're facing. 39% of skills will be outdated by 2030. The number of skills that are purely human-led will drop to 33%, I think from around 45 or 50% now, but a third will be shared, human AI, the rest, a third are fully automated. The number one core skill demand worldwide will be analytical thinking, interestingly. But encouraging to also know that the top growing skills are things that I think communicators are naturally pretty good at. So yes, AI and big data, but also, creative thinking, leadership and influence, resilience and flexibility. And actually, the more human-centered skills are becoming a premium and of a higher value, whilst AI takes some of the more transactional, repetitive tasks away. There's definitely a workforce readiness gap, and you can see that with 91% of organisations, yes, they have adopted AI, but sadly only 39% have responsible AI frameworks. So, again, that's another area where I think we are naturally have the experience and the lens in which to help bridge that gap with organisations. I even want to sort of terrify people with, this particular statistic. This is from, there's an AI for that website, which is an interesting little website if you haven't checked it out. 98% of tasks that comms managers do apparently can be done by AI to this website. So they actually break role functions down into job tasks, and they've identified 365 in comms, and there's nearly 6,000 comms AIs. However, when you look at them, most of it is very transactional things, and actually the things that if we could do more quickly and easily would free us up for the more strategic stuff. And I know I can get frustrated, as many people do, just being bogged down by how long some of the tactical stuff takes to do. I've highlighted there number 13 on that. You might be able to see empathetic conversations has appeared in this last week. I saw for the first time. So there are lots of AIs now that can help you humanize or put context around things and have conversations that help you look at other people's points of view. So I thought that was interesting, because we were saying that AI cannot be empathetic up until not so long ago. There's some of the AI apps that help espouse to help you have empathetic conversations. Anything you can do, AI can do better eventually, but maybe not a warm hug. That was actually a quote I heard at South by Southwest last week, and I think that's right. We shouldn't be underestimating what it can do. From a comms perspective, how are we actually using it? So 70 to 77% of internal comms professionals now use Gen AI, and that has tripled since 2023. So it's good to see that usage rates have gone up, and we're sort of moving from awareness into actually using it practically. And you can see there that some of the things, this is from an OpenAI report, some of the top ways that we are using it: brainstorming, writing, editing, research. None of that's probably a surprise, but with it means that we're spending more time doing the verification tasks, and we're not getting the training that we want as well. And one of the really interesting things in the OpenAI report was that it's mostly being used for personal jobs, so personal use. I think 70% versus 30% use rate. And you could dismiss that as being the 70% means that we don't need to factor it in so much in the workplace. But actually we do, because how people use it and the way they're using it personally impacts how they're using it professionally and internally. And there's shadow AI practices going on that can present a whole lot of risks for organisations too. New job titles are appearing in comms. We've got AI comms strategist, the human AI interaction specialist, the ethical advisor. So I think that's really interesting and quite exciting too. Some of the really cool stuff there. And I was smiling to myself when I found this job ad from OpenAI that does ChatGPT. They are looking for an internal communications person for their product and research area. And I thought, well, if OpenAI still thinks internal communications is good, then it's got to be good and worthwhile. So, but that was a great one to share. And it really is our roles undergoing a reinvention, I think. There's loads of really good frameworks out there and free learning if you want to check it out and learn AI. There's certainly no shortage of learning materials. This is Microsoft's Day in the Life framework, which I was interested to pull up. And I think, it's got some good basic steps of how you might be able to integrate AI into your workflow within Microsoft Office. But I must admit I was quite surprised because it's very, very tactical stuff. And it's not that it's not useful, it is. But if this is what or how we're seen as internal communicators, this is the stuff that's easily replaceable. So I think we need to be thinking way bigger than what this kind of role is showing. Even the one that was the vice president was not that dissimilar. And I must admit that concerned me a little bit. But again, not to say it's not useful, but yeah. So I thought what I'd do is have a stab at creating what I thought could be a day in the life 2030. And this could be an interesting little exercise to do in your team, that of take off any limitations and just use it as an experiment, play with it. You could even do this exercise in ChatGPT or whatever you've got available in your workplace. But just running through it quickly, I thought, the Foresight AI dashboard could ping, and you see that employee sentiment's stable, but there's an unexpected surge in micro activism narratives online. And that's an AI image of me, who I called Maeve. So Maeve goes to lead a holographic workshop, and they walk through some simulations on morale and what various stakeholder responses might be. Then there's a narrative risk heat map where you can adjust the tone for a staff briefing based on it. And the edits sort of flow straight through with AI's adaptive scripts. And then at 1 o'clock, there's an AI council review. And you come together, Maeve comes together with the legal, risk and HR teams, and they update the social license matrix, and they stress test the behaviour persuasion algorithms to see what line they get to for public backlash. And then Maeve asks her AI assistant to, she reviews the content she's done for her AR and VR simulations, makes some tweaks, and it gets pushed out, and employees choose what format they want to consume it in. The network will self-correct misinformation on socials, so she's feeling very relieved about that. She doesn't have to trawl through all the socials. And then at the end of the day, her AI does a call to debrief reel, highlighting the micro moments of trust. And then before she finishes up, she asks her assistant to simulate what the workforce will feel like tomorrow if today's decisions hold. So she's got a sort of window round the corner. So it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but I think really the potential is great to brainstorm about, and it's a bit like a horizon. I think when you look at the horizon now, and then when you get up to it, it keeps changing and it keeps extending, and that's a bit like what this will be. So my AI skills guide, I put a sort of 6-step framework together to help people build their AI fitness that I'll quickly run through, and then I want to make sure we've got time for questions as well. And if you're more interested in the framework or want more details, I'm certainly happy for people to get in touch. But basically, the first step is building your AI literacy. It's explore. I'm calling it explore. So experiment, test. That's really the only way to improve and really understand how you can take that bigger role in leading AI and being the cultural sort of change agent for it. Because I think the penny really only drops when you get in there yourself and be curious. So the first one is explore. And then the second, obviously huge one, is ethics. And they need to evolve a lot faster. I don't think they'll ever get, and certainly regulation and law is not keeping up, but I don't think they'll ever be where they need to be. So that's the other role that we can play in setting the standard for ethical, responsible behaviour. It's our behaviour and values that are going to shape the impact, I think. And we as communicators, I think, should be really owning that. Mo Gaudat's a fascinating thought leader on AI if you want to look him up. A quick update on regulation. It was great to see the California AI Act come out last week, and I think that will start to build more momentum around the rest of the US. The EU one has been in place for some time. Love that Bot Sentinel. When I say some time, couple of months, but it's actually it's quite high standards. Bot Sentinel is a disinformation detector that I think will be really great, and the first stage of that's coming out soon. And there are a lot more protections coming around copyright, which is good to see too. That's still not enough. Another great quote: AI should be your harshest critic, not your biggest fan. I hate the sycophantic nature of AI, and I think doing red teaming, asking it to challenge your thinking is much more important. And I recommend building that into anything that you're doing with it, and not just having it reinforce what you're already doing. Insight. So of course, one of the great things that AI can do is give you really rich insights that we haven't had access before. But guess what? That is based on data. And we've always, I think, not been as strong at data as we need to be. We know we have to be in comms, but maybe not our sort of, first love. But it really is essential if we want to get the most out of AI. The 6 points there is how data quality is defined, and I would encourage people to learn the basics of data, learn structured data versus unstructured data, learn about data quality, about data governance, about ownership of data. Those concepts, the more you know them, the more you'll be able to extract the insights you want. Number 4 is create, and there's no algorithm for creativity. Another quote I loved from South by Southwest. And the thing with creativity, though, and everybody wants to start with what tools are you using? And we know that's never the right question in comms. So you've always got to start with, well, what are you trying to achieve? And then you think about, well, what's the right tool for that? And then what the right tool for that is. There's just so many different tools out there for all different sorts of things now, multimodal, text. I'm sure you've seen a whole range of these types, but starting with the purpose. You guys, I'm sure, probably know what things AI can do well right now, and what are the things that humans provide the differentiator in. And I think there's still a lot it can't do. One thing that does cause confusion, and for me too, was all these new terms: avatars and cameos and custom GPTs and deepfakes and synthetic humans and blah, blah, blah. So I thought I'd put Tin Robot to the test and ask him if he can define these things simply in 10 seconds. So I'll show you how he went.
Hi, I'm your 10 robot host. AI decoded, chatbots talk, GPTs think, avatars perform, humans mirror, deepfakes pretend. AI smart tools help humans.
So I think he did pretty good.
Hi.
Whoop. It's obviously, it's not perfect, but that was really quick to execute. And that's, a good creative way to explain more complex concepts that we can all be using in our organizations. Number 5, I think, in the skills framework is scale. So before going bigger, it's really important to start smaller, to pilot, to test, and also rethink your work processes. Because if you're just doing the same thing but putting AI on it, then you're just getting bigger mistakes faster. So I'd really encourage working through and your processes and how they might need to change in order to address the goal that you want to achieve, and then experiment with AI, test, have goals, and assess how it did against them, and then scale. It's really quite a big piece around workflows and efficiency, and getting it right means we can get the best out of the agent capability as well. And the last piece, and arguably the most important one that we're building to, is leadership. So this isn't about tools, and leading AI isn't about learning how to use AI. It's actually about building trust in the organization. It's about helping people adjust to this massive change. It's about coaching leaders so they understand how to take people through this massive transformation. So this is, I think, the last capability. And all of these have sub-skills and capabilities within them. And each of them is, some days, months worth of learning about, from a sort of basic level through to an intermediate level and advanced level. But there's a sort of a lot that goes into each of those. And it's also very iterative. But I think the framework will hold in those broad sort of 6 pillars, and then we'll be adapting between them. So on that note, I think, moving on to the next slide. Nearly ready for questions. In bringing it all together, these are the 6 pillars: explore, ethics, insight, create, scale, and lead. I think are crucial for communicators to know. In the process of building a little skills assessment that you can do to check where you're at against each of those. And where to from here, though, for you, I think curiosity is something that's really important in terms of mindset, but also knowing where to stop, because we've got to apply really good judgment and critical thinking. So it's not just keep going, keep going, keep going. It's knowing when to use it and when not to use it, and for what purpose we are going to use it. My top 10 tips for how to stay irreplaceable are experimenting, being good role models, remembering good data in, good data out, always check and verify. I think some of you have said, becoming more generalistic with our skills, focusing on outcomes, not outputs, keep learning and using your networks and things that are out there. Encourage your organizations to be giving you time to learn, or do that yourself in your teams if it's not being provided. And design how you want to shape your future role. It hasn't been defined, so we can define it and get ahead of this in the way that we want to. Let's work together to do that. And I think the final point I wanted to make was give yourself a break, because all of this is just faster and faster and faster. We need to look after our human brains and unplug and make sure that we're reading a book and going for a walk and getting back into nature. Because all of this it's fascinating. It's both quality and quantity, and we actually need to pull out the online connection at times too, which is going to be even more difficult with all of this. So on that note, I think we've got a little bit of time for questions. Over to you, I think, Tim, to let me know if there's been anything come through on the
Yeah,
question
thanks a
front.
million, Megan. There's quite a bit to chew on there for sure. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Your top tip at the end there was about experimentation. So for communicators who might be feeling overwhelmed or unsure where to start, can you share some specific examples of where and how they can experiment?
Yeah, I mean, I think some simple things to do is, which people probably have access to in their sort of normal course of the day, and AI tools, is recording meetings, getting it to summarize actions, is something really simple to do. Sentiment analysis is quite easy. Like if you're at a town hall or a Q&A session, you can just put the questions into AI and get it to tell you. It does some really good analysis on sentiment. Testing prompts, learning how to prompt properly is super, super important, because if you're not getting the output that you're wanting, it's probably because you're not asking the right questions. So just playing with prompting, they're the sort of top things that come to mind.
Okay, thank you. Question here from Rosaline, for any recommendations you might have for AI training for our team. Any particular training resources that you've seen out there that comes to mind? Or if not, we can share the chat later.
Yeah, not anything formalized that comes to mind. And I guess that's one of the reasons where I've been thinking we need this framework, and it depends on what, because actually there's a lot of good thought leadership and stuff out there about the ethics and responsible AI, and a whole lot of comms professionals that have done some great work around that. But then you'll find, a playbook here and something there, but it's not sort of put together cohesively. I know that there is a training database called Section that does have some starting to have a lot more AI stuff. But again, it's not specific to communicators that I've found anyway. I'd love to hear if anybody has. There's loads of free training, like all the big tech companies have now got lots of guides on their sites if you just go and have a look at them.
You've talked about AI freeing up comms folk from the more mundane or routine tasks. What's the most creative or unexpected way you've seen communicators use AI so far?
I think it can be great for simulations. So getting different stakeholder personas and putting different scenarios to each of them. And then that can really help with understanding how they might react and getting a really good customer perspective or employee perspective on different scenarios, and taking that data to leadership teams or doing it with them. So, that could avoid some of the crisis events that we have seen lately. There was in Australia, but others might have heard, an organisation that was doing surveillance on their employees, but they had communicated, but very badly, like it was in their generic T's and C's as an employee, and it just didn't really, it wasn't clear in the way that how they were doing it, where they were basically monitoring everything that people were doing, saying, seeing for a whole day. And the employees that this was happening to did not know that, and personal conversations could be easily sort of recorded. And of course, there was backlash and it's been sued. So, if they had done that kind of thinking and simulation beforehand, it would have been obvious that there needed to be more transparent, clearer communication around what they were doing. And the thing I think with simulations is when you can create then synthetic versions of the stakeholders and do it in a a video or realistic environment, then it becomes much more powerful as well.
Thanks, Megan. A question here from Helly. Everyone thinks they can do internal comms. We've all seen the clip art. How do we manage colleagues who are excited to use tools, but the outputs still miss the mark? We want to encourage AI use, but also need to manage the outcomes.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think, yes, anybody can now really put a communication strategy and plan together and execute it. They can. But, they don't have the experience that we have. And they haven't set the objectives, and they don't necessarily understand what context is and what culture is and what good looks like. So I think it will be pretty clear based on the outcomes that people like that are going to get. Our experience does matter, and I think the proof will be actually in how it's executed.
Yeah, Kylie Kendall had a similar question. Do you have suggestions for how we navigate educating others on this or balancing this new dynamic in conversations and processes?
Yes, education, I think, should be every business's #1 priority, from their boards right through down to their frontline employees and people in delivery vehicles.
Rita Chambers, should we be concerned about what is really happening to everything we put into AI agents and where that data will end up in the future? Who actually owns the output of that data, and how much we reveal, be it for our personal corporate capacity or will actually be our own data? And before you answer that, Megan, I should point out that Poppulo AI is totally secure, small language model, not a large LLM. So data security is absolutely paramount, as it has been in the development of our platform from day one. So that's from our perspective. But generally speaking, Megan, how do you answer that?
Oh, I have so many thoughts on that, but I think, fundamentally, we need to be extremely aware of the data that we're putting into these systems. Absolutely all over it. And it's hard because T's and C's are very impenetrable, and we're not used to our data being used in this way. And younger generations in particular just seem to do it quite freely. We don't even notice. But the way that our data will be able to be put together by organizations when we don't really it's like a black box. We don't have full transparency on how it's being used by these companies, and they're not telling us yet. So do read terms and conditions. Don't just give away your data because you're in a hurry or you think something might be interesting or good. And there's a lot of scams and a lot of disreputable software and companies that you can easily get tied up in. A tip that I think a lot of people probably aren't aware of, in the settings of most of the AI applications, you can opt out of sharing your data, which I do. So it's defaulted on, so everything goes back into training models. But if you opt out, they can only use it on certain triggers, like safety or security issues that might pop up. Otherwise, it's completely yours. But don't just put everything in. I wouldn't be.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here. This is a bit of crystal ball gazing for 2026 or even further. If you were to write the job description for the internal communicator of 2030, that's only 4 years away, 5 years away. What's one skill that wouldn't even appear on today's radar? Or alternatively, to give you an out here, what's the one skill that will be still there, still required down the road?
Oh, wow. I love that question. I had some fun brainstorming those little role examples. And one of the things that I thought would be great was something like a chief attention overload navigator. So, and you could tell when cognitive overload was hitting its maximum or benchmark levels, and you could adjust automatically the amount of organizational noise that went out. And you had like AI agents bidding for space in different communication distribution systems. And then, you know, the employees themselves choosing the way they wanted to consume, whether it was by hologram in a 10-second version or a talking point in a whatever version, or they just wanted to sit and listen to a human speaking. So yeah, chief attention economist could be a good one.
Okay, that's an interesting note to finish on. We're just up to the clock here. So thank you, Megan, and thank you all for attending. We will get the deck out to you and some more information on Megan and any questions you might want to ask her. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Loads of opportunities out there. So keep experimenting, everyone. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Poppulo.